Not me saying that all these wars are about is money and getting criticized in the comments for the show now to say that all these wars are about is money. Who would have thought? Listen, I'm gonna yap for a little bit, so if you just wanna watch the review, skip to this time. So, I make these videos for myself as well as for the audience, so I kinda wanna include this because I will be rewatching it like a few years down the line, I guess. I have not been having really good days. The past maybe 3-4 days have been absolute shit. And yeah, for anyone who deals with this kind of stuff and has these periods in their life where they have to decide whether they're going to give in to the bullshit and just stay in bed for 2 weeks and then after the 2 weeks try to fight off the depression, or decide between just not even giving in to the 2 weeks and just trying to get up again after a few really bad days. Hi. Same. So yeah, I went in the sun because I'm in Portugal, so I get sun in November. I went in the sun, I got some vitamin D, which clearly I never have enough of. Then I had a nice enough lunch because one of the things that is really hard for me when I'm like this is eating. But I put on a Internet Mom Ash video and I had my lunch. And while I was in the sun, I wrote a little bit. I'm currently editing some of my poems for a book that I'm putting together somehow through all of this shit. And I'm recording because, yeah, I want the future me to be proud of me for just doing the bare minimum, even though I don't even think I can do the bare minimum today, but I will do it. To the review. Lioness, episode 4. First of all, before going to the beginning, Manuelos, I think is her name. Baby girl, thank you for coming back. Thank you. I hope you really don't go through the mission to the end. I hope you just bolt. Just betray the Lioness program thingy and just bolt. Bolt out of there. Please. Do something for yourself. You deserve it after what you went through last season. But okay, let's get back to the beginning. To the meeting. Notice how they no longer consider a drone to be like the counter-attack measure, or the way that they eliminate the Lioness if it fails, if she, in this case, turns to the other side and confesses everything. Notice how they don't even consider using a drone because why? Because they are like in US soil or close to it, or in Mexico or whatever. They're too close to home. They can't use a drone to just explode a mansion and save their asses. So what are they using? Oh my god, I just burnt myself on my candle. Well, at least I laughed. And this is why you have to continue doing the things you enjoy, even if you think you're not going to enjoy them. Because something's gonna happen and you're gonna enjoy them. Unless you're like extremely depressed, then maybe not in the beginning. I'm so sorry about that. If you are. It sucks. But yeah, it's too close to the US, they can't use a drone, so they're going to use an actual human person whose only mission is to be next to the new Lioness in case she turns, so that this shadow person can terminate her. Kill her, basically, before she can reveal anything about the program or the CIA and their mission and whatever. And they are placing as a shadow, in their own words, they are placing a 25-year-old blind patriot that Joe can wind up and point in the direction of the Lioness, who might or might not betray them. And here I actually have to give the show some credit because they are actually pointing out some criticisms to the system that they are portraying in the show. Not enough, we'll get there. to the insane point of this episode. We will get there, but some criticisms they are pointing out. And also notice how we are seeing consistent references to the possibility that Joe's family might be kidnapped. I wonder what will happen at the end of the season. Like when Joe meets that guy that was stealing her and he says the same thing, that they would take it out on her family, Joe is genuinely freaked out. She's freaked out. And listen, I know that if we're going to establish a plot point where her family gets kidnapped, we need to bond with her family, so we need to have that Grey's Anatomy bullshit scene, but I really couldn't care less. Couldn't care less. And now for Manuelos. I think her name is Cruz. I can't say this in English. Cruz Manuelos. Cruz Manuelos. The reason I loved season 1 so much was, I know, the big part because of the relationship between her and the daughter of the guns dealer. And I don't think we're going to get even a hint of that. They didn't even mention her when they were talking about it. Joe just mentioned her past boyfriends. And I know that Manuelos can tell that Joe is being incredibly manipulative towards her, and I know that even though she's going on this mission, she knows exactly what's going on. She knows she cannot trust Joe. Because what do you mean, like, 1 second Joe is basically insulting her, and the next second she's telling her that she's the only one she can trust. Manipulative. And when Joe is telling Manuelos that if she isn't up to this mission, she doesn't know what she's even doing there. What do you mean you don't know what she's doing there? You know exactly what she's doing there. You yourself called her a 25-year-old blind patriot. You know exactly why she's there. She was abused. She didn't have anyone. She was literally running away from her abuser when she found the military. What do you mean? She was completely alone in the world. Just completely alone in the world, and thought that no one cared about her or would protect her. Of course she went into the military. What do you mean what is she doing there? She's running. She's escaping her horrible life. What does she have to go back to? What does she have? Because that's the option that Joe gives her. Either you quit or you come with me. What does she have apart from the army, from the military, whatever you call it? And then we get to the bullshit part of this episode that I couldn't actually believe they did. Joe says there is no such thing as an immoral war. It's about survival. And she points out the example of Israel and Palestine. Joe, baby girl, that is not a war. It's not a war. Can you imagine a country with one of the most powerful militaries in the world being supported by the country with the most powerful military in the world, just bombing a place on earth mostly filled with women and children, and calling it a war? The fact that they use this example to illustrate the argument that no war is immoral is insane. It is immoral. It is wrong. And this is the thing that I hate the most, is when people try to give logical explanations for things that make no sense. Like, you're seeing it now with the election. It was never about protecting the babies. It was about owning women's bodies. It's coming out now. Like, completely, directly, explicitly explained. Because they realize that they have the power to say it now. It was never about the babies. And with Israel and Palestine is the same thing. The logical explanation is that they are defending themselves. This, to defend ourselves, is the excuse that to protect the babies has always been. What they really want is not to defend themselves. What they really want is not to get the hostages back. What they really want is a territory. How is that not clear? The audacity of this TV show to try to make the argument that war is never immoral using the Israel and Palestine example is insane to me. And the fact that Zoe Saldana said it, I don't like it. And then we end the episode with a team going to a warehouse that supposedly has contraband, which they expect it to be drugs, and they find a bunch of people, mostly children, I think. And then they can't take the children because the transport they had prepared was for drugs, not for 500 children. So they have to leave them there. And Joe gives a tracker to one of them to be able to find them later, probably. And they just leave. Every episode that comes out of this show becomes even more insane than the episode before. So I don't really know what's happening. I will review it until the end, but yeah, I feel like it's a very different show from last season. Does anyone else agree? Does anyone else even care about this show? I feel like I'm talking to the void. Well, there you have it. And I'll see you Thursday with